Hello fans, welcome to the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. So this video is about the lore and beginnings of Fictionings. So first of all, the creatures of King Skeleton's army, like the zombies and creepers, weren't always under King Skeleton's rule, because King Skeleton didn't always exist as a skeleton. So many years before the war began, the zombies and creepers and the skeletons and all the others were being slaughtered by a coalition of creatures like humans, foxlings aka the species of fox, bearings aka bear's kind, dogons aka cham species, and others, and so the undead creatures were being killed just for being what they are. So one day a massive army of the undead creatures rose up and they fought the coalition of creatures aka called the coalition of Kaijub aka the world of Fictionings, and so that caused the war that is known as the first mob war. Battle after battle, and after millions dead on both sides, the coalition of Kaijub won and the rest of the undead creatures went into hiding. And years later, after a bunch of training and preparing, the evil creatures went back to war with new allies aka the Swamplings aka the species of Grek, and the king of the undead creatures at that time was Grek's great uncle's wife's father aka King Lingling, and King Lingling started the second war aka the second mob war. And so years of battles began and the war was devastating and tens of millions of both sides died. But at this time, Champion Zingo aka a great boxer that is a giant that stands tall entered the battlefield, and so did Calvin aka King Skeleton when he was still human. And around this time the energy like the orange and red and blue energies were discovered, and so both sides used them in the war. And one day on a great battle, Calvin threw an energy grenade at a group of undead creatures, but they threw it back at him and it exploded, and Calvin was incredibly injured. And so a few scientists like scientist zombies took the near-dead Calvin and they fixed him up and they made him into a skeleton. And so Calvin was scared and shocked, but then he went around the battlefields and he ran into a dad and son, and Calvin tried to be nice, but the dad grabbed an axe and tried to kill Calvin, and Calvin had to fight back and he killed the dad, and the son ran away, and that son is Andrew Tate, and Calvin was upset that he had killed someone, but then King Lingling died in battle. And so the undead creatures went back into hiding and the coalition of Kaijub won the second mob war, and then the Swamplings became good and joined the coalition of Kaijub, and so back in hiding the undead creatures needed a new king. And so the best fighters of the undead creatures, including Calvin, was put in arena and each fought to the death, and Calvin won, but everyone was hesitant to make him king because a skeleton. But because they did need a king, Calvin became the king, and that is when he adopted the name of King Skeleton. And around that time the main base of the undead creatures at the time was found, and so a big army of the coalition of Kaijub was sent to destroy it, including the champion Zingo went, but the base self-destructed and Zingo was left there to die. And when he awoke, he was a skeleton aka King Skeleton Titan, and he had upgrades that had him look like a big version of King Skeleton. And at that time the army of the undead creatures renamed to King Skeleton's army. And also at this time Fox, Pjaka 101 Bear and the rest were in young teenage years, and they began training, and after years of preparing, King Skeleton's army went to the battlefield again, causing the third mob war, or as it's also called, the Fox and King Skeleton War began. And at this time King Gold became King Gold after his dad passed away, and he brought together the best fighters of Biden aka all of Fox and his friends like Pjaka 101 and Bear and the rest, and Fox became the leader, and so the war began. And also at this time a unique Skibidi Toilet universe was attacked by Sinister Titan Clockman, and Pjaka 101 brought the alliance from that universe to the Fictionings universe, but the Astro Toilets and the Skibidi Toilets came as well, and that's how there are Skibidi Toilet stuff in Fictionings. And so the war happened, and everything else in the series has happened after that, so the backstory ends at episode 1 of Fictionings. So I hope you all enjoyed this video about the backstory and lore of my LEGO stop motion series Fictionings, and I would truly appreciate it if you all could like and subscribe. Bye for now, my amazing fans.